All right, so now we're gonna move over to Netflix for a bit. Let's finally talk about the Queen's Gambit, which I've
Right,
been hearing nothing but praise about since it
right.
premiered on Netflix. Well, actually, late last month. In my case, I could have talked about it earlier, but had to work on that Halloween special, which I hope you guys checked out and enjoyed. But yeah, the Queen's Gambit is here. Ricardo, if you don't mind, I want you to do the synopsis. But just to
Sure.
begin, just before you do it, I saw the trailer for this actually, and I was surprised. Hey, it's McGill and Taylor Joy. I was
Right.
curious about this, just from the word go. What caught me were two things, right? One, it was about chess, which I'll make a little confession. I was getting into when I was younger. I'll never
Right.
forget when I got my first desktop computer. I had one of those Chess Master CDs
Right.
in the game,
Yeah, me
and
too.
I'll never
Yeah.
forget. Like I was good, but for some reason the AI will always kick my ass or will always end with I forget what you call it. I think it's draw by three full repetition. If I got the
Right.
wording wrong, forgive me. But essentially is where you end up making the same you and the AI basically end up making the same moves and it ends in a draw. Right? So there's no way
Right.
that you could actually beat the AI. I should really look up some YouTube videos to see if anybody ever beat the AI. But anyway, from that moment I was
Right.
just like,
I
I'm
mean,
good.
right. Yeah, I played. Well, my dad taught me it. He used to be part of the chess club back in Fatima. He teach me.
Oh
I
would.
used to play as
Okay.
he used to play with his cousins. I used to play with my cousins.
Right.
A good bit. I was halfway on in terms of um skill. I wasn't I can't say I was ever great, but I was okay. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
one of these games that I we will talk about that with the show, but it's one of these games that never really impressed me. It's one of these things that it's a big artifice that has been built around it, and I'll argue the context of when this book was written, and the context of which this story is, because the story is entirely fictional, right? It's not even
Yes,
based
yes,
on anyone.
yes. Which also
So
caught
so
me by surprise because everything that I
right.
saw in the trailer at first I thought was
Right,
based off a
made it
true story.
feel as if right, yeah,
Yeah.
made it feel as if it's based on somebody. They are very real good women at chess, and another thing I'll probably bring up when talking about this series. Yeah, but just one of these games. I don't know. It's again, it's because it's one of these games that the internet kill, and what I mean by that is you have so many like games could be more subversive. Like I've always been not that impressed by chess. And my rule of thumb is if a computer could beat me at it, it's not that good of a game. Because it's clearly wrote wrote hard programming kind of thing. It had nothing to do with like cleverness and being thing and being
Yeah, yeah.
right. And yeah, you have to contrive the game so much. It's basically the Melina. It's the Melina fight in Mortal Kombat 2, right? It's that. That's basically
Right.
what chess is.
Yeah.
It just kind of seeing what you could do ahead of time kind of bullshit because
Yeah.
everything on the board and you know what it is. It have no fog of war to speak of, nothing like that.
Yeah. But I
Anyway,
was also
like
thinking
it,
about chess for me, right? Yeah,
right,
we're gonna get
yeah,
to the show. Don't worry, we're gonna get to the show, right? It was like I don't want to call it the illusion of, but it always has a sense of okay, it's all about brain power. It's all about
right,
just figuring out moves and seeing all these things play out, which this show here also touches on, right? So for me, I always saw chess as like this mature progression from checkers. Like, oh, checkers is for kids,
right,
right? Ah, that's what little kids just play. Now I want to play real stuff, right? So there's chess, right? And of course, there's always like this. I don't want to call it a myth, but there's this idea that okay, well, yeah, it's all about using your brain, and which it
right,
is, right? But yeah, you think that you just have to be like this uber smart individual to
right.
even succeed in the world of chess. You know what I mean? And if you can't, then yeah, you're dumb, right? That's kind of the illusion, kind of like if you
Right,
don't know how to
a
do it,
little bit. I
yeah,
mean, it's yeah, it's one of those interesting. Well, okay, so we'll talk about this a little. We'll get into this later, but basically, it is up front for what we call the culture war on two fronts. One with respect to
uh,
gender, and this is why this thing does a good job. That there's a good
yeah.
book on the matter called there's a book I read a couple years back called Chess Bitch. This is one of the greatest female players.
I love the
One of the
title.
greatest, yeah, one of the greatest female players um, ever talking about her experiences with chess and how it's to kind of debunk a lot of like the culture around chess. And then
Right.
two, well, what I think this book facilitates a lot is the Cold War, right? The nature of the Cold War,
Yes.
the back and forth about Soviet Russia, and then, well, you could sit to a certain extent also the idea, the whole culture around, well, what we call basically IQ or IQ studying, right? This how
Hmm.
they do this. Or we could predict how a person could, how smart a person is because they look how well they could play chess. So we use chess as a shorthand for intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it is that. But then I really thought this, and we could now get into the show.
Yeah.
I thought
Sure. Sure.
this show would have really done a lot of wanking in that way, or try to make the case for that way, and it does to a certain extent, but it just focuses on just a really strong character piece, which
Yes.
I will
Indeed.
fully admit I did not like this starting off, mostly because of how slow it was and how what should I put by how slow it was and how relatively boring the arcs were for the characters, like the relationships between well, the main character Bet Harmon and everybody else was just not working for me. Like I was just not feeling her relationships at all. Like
Okay.
they tried to say, well, it's some kind of rivalry or something like that, and they started off when she was young and blah 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 blah, and then it just, I was like, yeah, but I don't know if it's the pacing or if it's how the time jumping or time skipping or how the editing is, but I wasn't feeling any of it. And then when she meets the top chess master in from Russia, that's when it picked up. Right, that's when
Okay. So,
the
it took a
everything started.
while for you, but
Yeah,
yeah. All right. All right.
yeah,
All right.
it took a while for me. Like the first couple episodes was okay, but then like second, third, fourth, I was really not feeling. Fifth, I wasn't really feeling all that much. Mostly because when fifth was okay when they did some stuff, and then six and seven were very good. Those last two episodes were excellent for me.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when everything pick up, I think. And why? Well, but the main reason why it works so well too is that well, the aesthetic and the the old time stuff, right? The
Yeah.
60s.
The production
Just
design of the
yeah,
show
production
is
design was
very,
yeah.
very,
Say
very, very
all the
well done.
production value, production design, set design, costumes, all of that was very very good for me. Um, they wasn't that imaginative with where the camera was or anything like that, but it had a couple okay shots. But
Yeah.
I was,
But one thing that I love do is that because this is a limited series, you don't have to worry too much about a budget because like, okay,
right.
this is a one-off story, so let me just spend as much money
Yeah,
as they could,
yeah.
right?
It looked very expensive.
Yeah.
Overall. And I'll say yeah. And then well, they got a lot of good music too. For the
Oh
time.
yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
Some great Billboard hits from the 50s and
right,
60s.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And they made it work. I thought it was good arcs for the characters. Who was what they did. That last piece with the friend from the orphanage was pretty good. And then her arc
Yes, yes. I
involved
love
with
that moment actually. I'll
yeah.
talk about her
And,
character in a bit.
yeah, then that arc I felt that they did with well the kind of prevalent arc of well what the her biological mother was about. It was never clear. We kind of piece together what was going on, but not too clear exactly what going on. And she herself don't really have any working memory of what going on. And I thought that as the backdrop for the character worked as well. And overall, in the ending, I thought it was pretty good. Again, the last two episodes were very very good for me. Um, but I don't know, something about this. It take me a while, but I think it's just the editing. It's just it didn't delineate the information the way I think I wanted it to. Only until they started pacing things ahead and what the final arc was about with her character. Um, it worked, but again, as I said, it was still pretty good overall. I'll say the thing is, again, the feeling that if this was made 5 to 10 years ago, it was clearly made for DJ Qualls and Emma Stone.
Oh
Um,
god.
I what it felt like, like those two. This holy shit! I was like, wait, she really looking like Emma Stone. I don't know if it's because of the red hair they deliberately do that, but like
It's
this
the
was
hair.
meant for that.
It's the hair.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
meant for Emma Stone, right? I mean, holy shit, John. But yeah, this was still pretty good for me overall. But yeah, give me a take on this.
All right. So the second thing that caught me with the trailer was the whole aspect of drugs, right? You know what I mean? I was like, what? Just drugs? What? You know what I mean? I had to see this, right?
Right.
And what I love about this show here is that yes, it touches on it, but it's not some big, PSA on drug abuse and all that kind of stuff. Like
No.
that's
Yeah.
part of the story, but it's not the story, right? What it really is about is Beth Hammond herself, it will be played by Anya Taylor Joy, more or less taking this deep-rooted skill and talent in chess and paving her way through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the show oftentimes, but they don't stress on it too much. We will remind you that, hey, you know what I mean, she is in this U.S. Open, or she's in Europe, and she's like one of the few women really doing this. You know what I mean? Like especially when she goes to Europe, I think there's they show a female chess player, but
Well,
she wasn't even qualified to be in this, right? So
well,
it's
no,
a
it's more like right. So that's a big right. So that's a big part of. It's unclear why chess culture ever did that or had it like as is. Where this why does that they have a different they have two different tournaments, so they never unite the tournaments as well. Oh, because men will outclass women every time, and statistically that is the case. I mean, I think the best chess player in the world today is like the 100 best player or something like that. I forget, or 99 or something like that.
okay.
And yeah, and again, well, the book Chess Wishes kind of address and explain most of this. And what happens is that because this documentary makes it out as if, well, she's this unprecedented genius, that unclear. Like that's what I say. It's clearly meant to be this like it felt like a Soviet propaganda anti-Soviet propaganda book, because when I checked the background, it's like, oh, the book is written in 1983.
Right,
So
right,
it's like,
right.
oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and but so they say you have this female player, and she's like the best American player apparently. So it's like, okay, but he entirely fictional. So when you get into the real history, the actual best Soviet player ever by that time, I think, was still Kasparov. Right, Bobby Fischer was out by then.
Hmm.
Not oh, I think I know one of my problems with this is that because it wasn't anywhere near as exciting as previous chess outings, chess sport movies, I didn't really care for this as much. Like you had Queen of Katwe a few years back, and you had a
Oh yeah,
movie I
which I
really liked.
have not seen actually, but you talked
Right,
about it in
right,
this
right,
podcast actually. I remember that.
right. And then they had a movie that I did expect to enjoy as much as I did. That was Pawn Sacrifice. That was with Tobey Maguire as Bobby Fischer.
Okay, have not seen that or heard of it actually.
Yeah, that was 2014 or something. So I can't remember when exactly, but yeah, it was a while.
All right.
And yeah, so I think because this was a lot more slow and it didn't really have any that was more exciting to try to make chess as if it's this big, brilliant, genius game. But this one is just more, coerced, and chess is more about timing and what kind of chess you play better than what you do and what not. No. And this was because this was more measured, and because of her character and her psychology and psychiatry and substance abuse and all of that. That's why this was a little different of a beast. I think because it was that much slower, I didn't really get into it. It's only when they got into the last character stuff with her, that's why it worked.
Okay.
So that was
Yeah.
about that was me with that. Anyway, go ahead.
I understand. I totally understand. But in my
Yeah.
case, because I wasn't compared this to any big chess film, I was more looking at it as well as sports film, right? So you know what I mean?
No, it
It's like
is. I
something like,
mean, well,
which
chess
it
is a
is, right?
sport. Chess is a sport. So yes,
I
it's fine.
know, I know, I know, I know, I know. But when it comes to sports films, like say, the wrestler or whatnot, you
Right.
always think there's some sort of or Rocky, there's always some kind of level of excitement when it comes to the game itself, when it comes
Exactly.
to
Right.
the character, rising up, what I mean, not being the underdog anymore, right? And they kind of do that, but in this more slow. I was gonna say smooth, but more slow, kind of laid back kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like it's not trying. You're not gonna get some Bill Conti music. No, that's not what they're going for. They're not gonna make this the ultimate chess movie. You know what I mean? Like the go-to chess series or whatever it is. It's just a character study, right? And it just
Yeah.
involves chess and as someone who doesn't know much about chess, I thought that they made things engaging enough, not
Yeah.
engaging enough. Sorry, not like, oh my god, I need to get a chessboard and learn this shit as soon as,
Right.
but like
Exactly.
there's a process, there's a thought process, sorry,
Yeah.
that goes into this. Okay. Now I'm seeing it, right. And what I love about this show here is that like even they and all know that half of the people watching this show not gonna remember all the moves, or oh well, this is
Right.
the
I
reference to
as
what
I
this
said,
guy did back in the 60s, and
yeah.
this is the book that they came out and you need to study that.
Right.
It's like, no, it's just, oh, this is how they want, okay, cool. And this is
It did. Yeah. Yeah. No, Akabi. As I say, that's why I enjoyed this, because it didn't bog you down with chess nerdery, right? It didn't do that. But clearly they made it. They made it about the humanity of the intellectualization. They have sex lives or lack thereof. Their
Yeah, yeah,
their ego and personality and how that bounces off each other. All the little small things about how they dress and talk to each other, and what kind of respect they should or shouldn't have with each other. A lot of it work. It's clearly a pro chess movie. Like, chess players are not pretentious assholes. We actually
yeah,
nice to each other once we amongst each other, at least, right? They
yeah,
made
yeah.
that work. And when they saw
Right.
that, especially the end with the Russians, right? That
Yes, yes,
last piece
yes.
with them was pretty good,
Right.
especially with that old guy. That was a nice little sequence.
Yeah, that was
Um,
actually a really really nice moment.
right.
Without spoiling anything, right? But just to
Yeah.
touch on it without spoiling anything, right? I love the fact that the show itself was trying not to be this pro capitalist, agenda film. You know what I mean? So it's not
Right.
Rocky Four where the
Right. Right.
American goes to Russia, meets the Russian, and then talks about unity in the world. You know what I mean? It's not that, right?
Right.
And that's why I love the end here, where it's like, well, you know what I mean? Yeah, this thing happened, but at the end of the day, it's not about America against Russia. It's about the love, the passion that we have for this thing, right? And in terms of that passion, I love how well it's more or less emphasized and visualized. In terms of Bet's character, right? So one
Yeah.
thing I really dug was who, like, this is not a spoiler. It's actually in the trailer where she would look up at the roof, wherever she's at. She would look at the roof
Yeah.
and she would see like this
The
chessboard,
gameplay.
like
Yeah.
above her, right? And she'll see all these variations and whatnot to the moves. And I thought that was great too. But the whole drug abuse part, and this is right. So one thing I dug also too was how she got into it. Well, it's basically pills, right? That's how she got
Right. So
into
it
pills.
was not clear what she was taking, but I think it was Prozac. I think so. I forget what it was, because which
It
is,
was it
well,
was some mood inhibitor, right? I believe it
right. No,
was.
well, it's well, fluoxetine, right, or Prozac. Well, Prozac is an antidepressant.
All right.
Uh,
Yes. Yes. Right.
so what that does is that it'll basically kind of give you a kind of false high.
Mhm.
It'll contrive a high in your body, effectively creating what you call serotonin inhibitor. No?
Okay.
Hang on, gang.
Not dopamine, right? No. No.
No. Well, it's not dopamine. It's one of the brain drugs, but
Right.
basically it's something along those lines. But I'm not gonna get into like brain chemistry 101 right now. But the what I thought was interesting about it is, well, she felt as if she needed it, and they again,
Yes.
the ending was pretty good. I like what they did with that. Um, but they made it with a mix between intelligence, her psychology as a child, the trauma of, well, what
Hmm.
happened to her mother, and then the use of drugs. But because it's a green and white pill, it made me think it was Prozac now. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's
Okay.
the
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
I thought so, because that's the only pill I know that is a green and white pill.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
anyway, but that's
But
about it.
yeah, but
Anyway, yeah,
I,
but
I
yeah,
I love, I should say I like how the show touched on it without being too hokey
right,
and too preachy, and you know what I
too,
mean, look at
too
how
drug, yes,
this
yeah,
is, this is how this is affecting your life and all that kind of stuff, right?
right,
That's not to say that our hero doesn't make bad calls and mistakes
right,
and regrets, right? There is that, right? But I love how it connects to chess, right? To the point where it's like, okay, there are moments where literally she would take a break from mid play just to go to the bathroom, just to pop a pill, and just her
yeah,
thinking, oh, this is what I need, right? But then as the last couple of episodes actually where things kind of come full circle, you really get where where she herself kind of understands really what her peers are telling her. You know what I mean
right,
about what I mean about not depending on those things all the time, right? Speaking of that though, the oh gosh, Jolene, right, who is this black girl who she meets at the orphanage that she goes to, that she's sent to actually after her mom's death. Um, the actress who plays Moses Ingram, I thought that she was great in this.
right,
And I did not expect, slight spoiler, that she would show up near the end of the series, though, and how her character, change over time really, really worked for me. Because at first she was just like, oh well, you know what I mean, there's these pills, and it's you kind of think she's like the person who will get Bet into trouble, right? You know what I mean? Which she kind of does, right? But more like, okay, you're here, you don't know if you're gonna be adopted, so you might as well make the best of it, right? But how she changes over time though as she gets older really worked for me. I mean, it was
right,
quite realistic for me. I love that it's a far contrast to Bet, who's grown up and, she's traveling all over the world. Well, not over the world, but, to Europe and going into these big, competitions and meeting all these people and whatnot. So I really, really dug the contrast here. Anya Taylor-Joy herself, I thought that she
She held
was
it.
fantastic
Yeah,
in
she held
this.
it.
Screen presence, them eyes though. I mean, but not just the
Yes.
eyes, but just the poise, just everything about
Yes.
it. The way how she talks, the way how she responds to things, right? So it's not snotty, it's not really cocky. It's kind of they kind of do in that she is an introvert, at times, but just the way how she opens up to people and is not really sure of herself at times, but how she gradually grows over time, in terms of character, I really, really dug to. And yeah, this is another example of, we just the range that she has though.
Yeah.
I still on the fence of her playing Furiosa in this new Mad Max movie that going to be developed. But hey, I love Mad Max Fury Road, so hey, if she could kill it, if she
Right.
could bring it to that, cool. But yeah, this is a great performance here. This is probably one of the best performances for a TV series I've seen all year, right? But I mean, it's Anya, right? So we know that. Supporting cast is great as well. Bill Camp. I did expect to see him in this. He plays a custodian at the
Yeah.
orphanage who trains
The beginning. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
chess. I thought that he was great as well. Um, who else? Marielle Heller, who plays,
Right.
well, the stepmother, actually. I thought
Right.
she was great, the moments that she
Yep.
was there. I love her Achilles heel, basically, with,
Well,
alcohol,
the
right?
drinking. Yeah, the
Yeah,
drinking. Yeah.
drinking. Just constantly drinking, right?
Mm.
Uh, I love
But
this.
the person who shine was well your boy from Devil All the Time, Harry Melling.
Yes,
He
yes,
was
yes,
pretty
yes.
good in this. Well,
Yeah,
Buster
and
Scruggs, right?
it took a while for me to pick up who he was. I was like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, right. This is the
his
show.
his arc worked. But it
Yeah.
didn't. It's one of those show don't tell type scenarios where he say that he was seeing her at the grocery, but we didn't see that, and I felt we could have seen that. Like,
Oh yeah,
okay,
that is true. That's true. Cause we do
yeah,
have
little
a
things like
sort
that.
of a montage moment with
Right,
Bet. You know what I mean, buying clothes and buying alcohol and all that kind of stuff. But we
right,
could have seen a little grocery moment too. You're right, right.
right.
But
Yeah,
I
apparently
love
she's
it
looking
terms
at
of
yeah,
yeah, but I love it terms of characters where it's like, okay, he's one of the best chess players in the States, right? But
right,
still have to work on 9 to 5. He still had to go college, right? So
yeah,
he kind of gave up that whole chess thing like it's not a passion of his. And well,
yeah,
what I mean? He had to be a white, he had to work white collar, right? So
yeah,
yeah, that's something I could totally relate to where you kind of have to sacrifice something that you're real passionate about just to make ends meet,
yeah,
right? I mean, I really,
yeah,
really dug that. I love how the show itself really kind of shows, well, it's not just, oh, well, if you're skilled in chess, you're automatically going to be some kind of millionaire, whatnot. It's not wrestling we talk about here, right? But anyway,
But they did the whole, but they did the whole. You can say that he could have been a quote unquote chess bomb now.
yeah.
But then, well, your boy from Maze Runner was in it too, which I like. He was good too.
Oh, wow, the guy who played Benny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Whose
as
face I
I
was
said,
watching
that
too, but
that's
he's also
that's
from Game of Thrones as well. I was like, oh yeah,
right.
that dude. Right, right, right.
As I say, well, he's what DJ Qualls would have been if it was 5 to 10 years ago, right?
I know,
Um,
right? Even well,
I
the hair
just
that was rocking. No,
I
no,
just
it's the face. It's the face.
his
He have that
face was
that
like this.
Jake
This
Walls.
clearly DJ Qualls to try to go forward. Because that's what I said. It was. I say if this could have been made 5 to 10 years ago, I would have been DJ Qualls and I'm a student instead, right? But anyway, I thought
Yeah.
he was
So
good. I like his arc with her was quite good. And then what they did at
yeah,
the
yeah,
end,
yeah.
I really liked. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I really dug his character as well too. I love how distinct he was. Like,
yeah,
he's just rocking this leather,
yeah.
sorry,
And
leather jacket
the
and
other,
pants and cowboy
the,
hat.
yeah,
You have a
the other
knife.
started.
Real Indiana Jones shit though, and
Yeah, yeah,
it just works in terms of who his character is, right?
yeah.
But
He's
yeah,
such
it
a
just go on.
he's so weird and pretentious. Though.
I know.
Yeah,
Just the back and forth they have. Well, he has with Bet works as well, right?
yes, yeah,
But I will admit to because I've just been talking Priest, right? Yes, for its 7 episode run, yeah, there are a few sluggish moments, especially in the
yeah. For me,
middle,
yeah.
right? I do understand why they did the whole okay, we're gonna show you where you think the story begins, and then we're gonna go all the way back to when she was young, and then we're gonna get to
Right.
that moment eventually. But the time to get to that moment is like what, episode 5? Like we
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
long way to go there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess maybe it could have been just like 6 episodes, kind of make
Well,
it
no,
uniform.
I don't
I don't know.
know. I don't know about all of that. I find my thing is that they made some editing choices that I just didn't agree with. Like, I understand them, but I don't agree with them. So they decided to not show certain matches, but then decide to show other matches. And like I kind of get it in the sense
Oh,
of
okay.
oh,
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
like in terms of the weight of the match for the outsider, this is a bigger weight, but for the personality of the player, it's smaller matches can make a bigger deal than other matches. Like it had this moment with where he kind of set you up where they do a speed chess and he cut your ass like about 4 times in a row. And
Yes.
that little scene, and that's a nice little sequence. And she get vexed now, but so those little small things matter more than losing to other things. But then they had a great moment in Mexico when she lose with the Russian for the first time now. What's his name?
Yes.
Borov or something like that. I thought that was a good scene.
Bogov.
Borov, right?
Yeah.
And you can see his personality and style, and he was like a super genius from since he young now.
Yeah.
But then they had
Oh,
this
but
Mexican
speaking of
kid.
that, there's a great little bit where you see a little news report, read black and white, showing Bogov as well, as a kid, right?
Yeah,
And this is
yeah,
interview with his parents, sorry, with his mom. I love that. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Oh, that was
yeah,
a
yeah,
great
yeah,
moment.
yeah. And then the as I said, character wise, it only gets really good at the end when she goes back to the orphanage and the she goes back with the what do you call it? When she goes to the basement and saw what the guy was doing.
Yeah,
Don't want to
that
spoil
was
that.
a
She,
powerful moment
that's
on
a
that line.
very
Yeah,
good. Yeah, that is
yeah.
where it started work. And then everybody kind of rally for she in the ending and thing. I like that. Good.
Yeah, but
Um,
I will agree to, what I mean, in the middle point. Well, this is where
yeah, it
where
dragged.
she
It
where she
does drag.
started kind of self-destruct even more, and get well, where she started to open up, I should say. By the same time, she gets more self-destructive as far as her drug and alcohol abuse, right?
Right.
Yeah, it does drag there, right? But yeah, in terms of the way it starts, it's kind of bumpy, but then it picks up. It has a great moment involving young Beth, involving her trying to get this jar pills.
Right.
That moment,
That's
when
yeah.
I
That's
saw that, I
the
was like,
early in the show. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, early on, I was like, okay, I need to watch this next episode coming up,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah, but it does kind of lag in the middle point,
I
right?
think my problem, as I said, another problem I have with it is that it because she have good relations with people, but those things don't seem ultimately important. Like it had this one scene with the Mexican boy, this little boy who really good at chess, and they had to come back the next day to finish the game now.
Right.
And she eventually beat him, but it's she the that didn't really like stick because it's like, oh well, the boy don't know about America and he just good at chess. And
Right. Right.
another and as okay, so the joke I just make about chess, and this where you kind of get into the aspect of chess. Again, it's really a celebration of chess as a game. It's called chess, the Esperanto of games, right? What that means is that it meant to unify, but it ended up just not being that great of a true communicator in terms of the world now, because it have a whole all these players kind of isolated from each other, siloed if you were to so to speak, because they
Mm.
don't know nothing about the world. She had to learn about the world, and so she just keep asking questions about things that she should know. And
Right. Right. Right.
real life never really hit her in the same sense because she never really had to work. She never really worked for she life or get any sort of job. She make money through chess. She kind of isolated compared to the friends and family and these kind of things. And that's where it works in that sense because they get into that aspect of her being possibly neurotypical. You're not sure what's going on there. As possibly autistic kind of maybe, and it still works as a character piece, but because it not lining up for me editing wise, it wasn't working for me all that well. Anyway, I'm going just
Yeah.
that's my last point, and then I'll go
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Give the rating one time, man. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. Very
All right.
very good. Mostly
Yeah.
because those last 2 episodes are very strong. The character works, and then all the production value stuff is excellent. As I said, the editing and some of the camera work could have used a little more imagination. It had one good editing sequence I liked when it was in the US Open. No, I want to say the chess Open or the chess championship. I forget what, but it was the to be the American champion, and they had this really nice little fast choppy editing sequence where where Faces and she and Benny was battling each other now.
Oh, yeah, I know you talk about, yeah.
And then they didn't show the final match with Benny and her, and they just cut to the bar. Him cut because she beat him now,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
about it.
Um,
But
yeah,
good,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
So
I do agree with you. There are some, like I was digging. For me, I was digging the editing in some scenes, like when they
right,
would, when they would do like a montage or two. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Usually set to music, but sometimes I would admit, yes, sometimes you wish that, like, okay, at times it would cut when it needs to, the
right,
scene, and then after but sometimes it would just cut when it's like, we want to see what happened next. It just
right. Yeah,
cuts and we see
and
the
I
outcome, and
understand.
you're like, okay,
Yeah,
it's just done to kind of, maybe make things a little, all right, maybe not to make the editing all that predictable. I don't know,
right.
perhaps,
Yeah,
but
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's one of those.
I feel it's
As
that,
I
yeah.
said, it's more subjective call in terms of the edit. Like it's not like, oh, that is a real dumb call in terms of the edit or anything like that. It's
Mm,
like, okay, I kind of understand why you would cut that. Like when they cut the match, that last match with her and Benny, that's actually a smart cut from a character perspective. I kind of understand what they would do. But I
mm,
wanted to see the match. I wanted to see that match. They should have showed that match, in my opinion. Personally, I would have preferred that match. In terms of the actual chess stuff, I would assume it's accurate because I haven't read the actual book itself. I don't know how much, if the author back then knew everything about chess, but it seemed to be chess on this. Like it seemed to be enough chess nerdery. It's not like with remember, I think Harry Potter, the first movie was just total dotishness in terms of the chess moves. It's like, oh, this is completely amateur nonsense. So how this man
right,
man
right.
beat me? But that sequence in Harry Potter 1 where they had to play chess and it was real strippiness. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this not a chess game that anybody would actually play though. How is he good at chess again? It's not that. I got a sense of it being reasonably workable chess game. Like in terms of the game stuff. Look, is the kind of book that you don't think that they will fuck something like that up, right? So whatever.
Yeah.
But as it is, it was cool, good special effects, good visual effects, good cinematography and production value overall. Like that again, the little mental simulation that she's creating in her head with the chessboards
Yeah.
on
I
the
thought that
roof
was
thing.
cool.
That
That was
actually
cool.
looks, yeah, that looks
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, that looks quite cool. Character stuff I felt was, I understand what the calls they make, and it had some little nice moments, but overall a lot of it didn't work, but some of it worked really well. But it doesn't tie together as well as it does. I totally understand why people would like this. It is quite good. It was a little slow for me, but as I said, as I say, 8 out of 10. So yeah, that's my last point.
Yeah, well, I'm up there with you. I'm gonna give this a decent, strong 4 to 5.
Yeah,
Anya kills it in this. The cast, the supporting cast is great as well. Production value, cinematography, direction, writing for the most part. Writing for the most part. Musical choices, the musical score itself. Yeah, yeah. I mean, top notch, right?
yeah,
Editing is a little spotty here or there. Pacing is a little sluggish here or there.
right, yeah,
Characterization
yeah.
isn't as polished as completely polished as it should be. But other than that, I got the vibe of what these what the show is going for. And I wouldn't say that this show make me love chess. You know what I mean, again, or make me
Right.
interested in chess. But I could imagine lots of people will be seeing this and be like, yeah, yeah, I can dust off the whole chessboard and try a thing, man. You know what I mean? So let's say that this is some groundbreaking show on chess. But as far as a show about chess, yeah, this is one of the best ones
Yeah,
I've seen in, well, ever, I should say, right?
yeah.
But honestly, I wish that I loved the show more. But it's just the gripes that we mentioned really held it back. But this is still a solid series. And it's one of one of the better shows that you'll see in 2020. Bana.
Yeah, yeah.